What's going on, guys? So, as of late, it has been the battle of the open source and cheap models. So, I wanted to record a quick video, especially with Eric and Josh, talking about how you can run GPT-OSS on your local machine. So, I thought I'd give it a whirl and demonstrate what it actually entails. So largely, Ollama is definitely a great chatbot where now you can even do like web search. They even have like a new turbo function. But you can definitely see that there's a number of different LLMs that you can download right to your machine, which is nice because it's quick and free. And let's see here, you online. Basically, I didn't even spell it right. But these reasoning models are getting faster and faster and cheaper. And having it on your machine, that means you can go offline and still talk to AI, right? So the big question remains of what is GPT-OSS? This is the 120B, but they have two models right now. They have the 20B smaller one, which I have installed on my machine. The 120B is also really good on Powerful Max, and then the 20B, which is a smaller one. And so this is on Hugging Face, but really open source just means you can take essentially the packaged LLM and you can park it either on your machine, you can do it on a cloud infrastructure such as like OpenRouter, Groq Cloud with a Q, and then or any other cloud service. And so the big question here is, okay, what is the cheapest way to run it, right? So Eric had mentioned that with nCompass, usually it goes price per million, but this is just getting stupid cheap, right? So now it's okay, how cheap can it be down to almost free, and how fast can we get the response? So OpenRouter is obviously a big time provider for being able to use different models, especially for really cheap, such as this one. And then the other one is Groq Cloud, which I've been using quite a bit as well for different LLMs that are open source. They have quite a bit of different ones as well. Biggest thing about Groq is they're quick. I mean, they brag about tokens per second, and that's because they have LPUs, which is a little bit different architecture than GPUs. So they have some pretty competitive pricing, but obviously it starts to get down to the really fractions of a cent, depending on how many tokens that you're trying to burn through. And this is for the 20B, of course. So essentially you can make an API call with whatever service that you're using, such as N8N or Clay, and go from there. And then just to demonstrate here, just to show real world scenario, I have it inside of Clay, and you can see I just have a number of different URLs, and keep it fun, interesting. We'll call it my agency, clay.com, Growth Engine X, and of course Josh's content marketing media. So I just went ahead and went into, I guess, firstly, to even set this up, you don't need to do really much other than set up what you call a local tunnel. So when you have a local machine or anything on the local host, like a website or anything that's parked onto your machine, you have to expose it to the internet, and that's going to be through a tunnel. There's also Cloudflare tunnels. There's also nGroq. There's a number of different providers that can do that as well. And but really, there's just a local tunnel, and all you need to do is just install it through npm right here. Npm install -g just means global. We install local tunnel, and then I went ahead and ran this command, which is lt local tunnel, and then you just establish the port there, and then it says it's running, and then it gives you a URL, which is your local URL. Just to test it, I do a curl request, which is basically to call it, and then just to see if it works. There's no API key really needed. You can outline all that stuff, but you can clearly see I got a lot of information here. So now let's go into Clay, and I wanted to test this out, right? So I used my good old friend ChatGPT, come up with the payload and endpoint and everything, but this would be the endpoint for what you would need to put in here. Obviously, this endpoint would be provided to you in your terminal once you get it going live. And of course, just to even kill it, all you need to do is hit Command C, and then it would kill the service because it's currently running right now. Anytime you restart your computer, it's going to change. So this would be dynamic in which you would launch it. This is the payload. So I just said say hello from Ollama through local tunnel. Streaming is going to be false. And that's really about it. And obviously, since this is on my machine, it's free, so that's cool. And getting a 200 status code is obviously really nice. But being able to use a local LLM, calling my machine right from Clay, I'm able to call it, and of course, I am getting a nice JSON here, which free 99 is really nice, right? So the next one I did, same thing. We're doing a post request to this endpoint, and then I went ahead and kept the same JSON payload, and I just said write a poem about website. And you can see that again I got 200 status code, and if I even do clay.com for example, we'll see that it came up with content, does some good poems, and then it of course has reasoning because it's a reasoning model, and we are done with that one. So I thought, okay, well, this is all fun and dandy. Let's see what it does when we go at scale, or at least not really at scale, but a lot more data, right? So I just did Clay's Find Companies table just to get a quick snapshot of 50 rows, just to see what that looks like. And then we find people at those companies. So if you're not already familiar with Clay, you can go to Actions and then find people at these companies. It's going to give you a search criteria based around that, and then you can start finding people that you want to go after. And from here, I just did a good 50, and that's it, right? So then I pull all the information, such as what we have about the company from the other table. These two tables are relational, so basically this is going to do a write to table. So anything I update on here, if I push that or pull it into here, this payload is going to carry over right from that table. And so that way they're interlinked. So I have a company table and then a people table. When I go to the people table, I just left it all as is, and I was like, okay, let's see what Ollama does for 50 rows, right? The overarching thing about with Clay is that you're going to run into concurrent API limits, and this is very much a common issue, is all about speed. And you can see right here, I ran this on my local machine, and I have a fully leaned out, or fully to the right, I should say, M4 Max laptop, powerhouse of a machine, and it handles a lot. And so running this definitely gave it, my fans were humming for sure. And you could see here, just running at scale, and all I did was I just simply said generate email copy to first name. This email should be no more than 100 words and ensure no more than 2 sentences per paragraph, and all paragraphs with the proper line break, which is this BR tag. And the company I work for is right here, their company name. And I did streaming false. Same endpoints, same everything else. And I got quite a bit of rows done, which I was able to do. I can ideally do this offline. But then again, I have Clay, so I would only really be able to use this site and then make these calls because this is a local call. Whereas when you operate on the internet or the cloud, you just really gotta pick and choose. But it's cool to say that this works, but this is obviously not something that I would just run and then leave or let it run in the background. And it obviously is tied to my local machine. Therefore, in my opinion, it's obviously not best use for this type of use case. But you can see here, we get a 200 status code, good to go. And then I ran on Groq Cloud, and it just, like a snap of a finger, just whipped right through. We do a lot of the same things, but I called the same OpenAI GPT-OSS 20B. All good there. I went ahead and pulled the tokens because, biggest thing is input per million tokens and then output per million tokens. And biggest thing here is you definitely want to, there's a reason why input tokens are less than output tokens, because it's been tokenized, and you want to give your LLMs as much context as possible. I didn't give it a whole lot just for examples, but you can see obviously, we're talking fractions of a cent. So I guess the overarching thing here is, does it work? Yes. Is it best to use a local LLM? Probably not. Obviously using something like Ollama, if I needed to do something, be like, hello, tell the world who you are. It would reason, and it would, basically come back to me and saying, hello, world, this is what it is. So for a chatbot, it could be really good, to use as a local chatbot. But for something like with Clay, you're just going to be running into timeout issues and things like that. So I would say, stick to the open routers, the Groqs, nCompass, that kind of thing, especially if you're, picking up fractions of a penny, just to really know that the retries are going. We still are at, in my opinion, not quite yet of this being a positive ROI to get, 76 cents per hour. This could be, if you're pumping out some serious tokens, could be a positive ROI, but you would need to essentially spin up your own infrastructure if it's like a business or you had a real use case for it. But for ripping through tables on Clay, I would say Open Router or Groq Cloud is probably going to be a good one, at least right now. But I venture to say we're going to start to see hardware getting better, of course, at the local level of your machine, as well as extensions of being able to run like NVIDIA's little baby devices. Those are obviously good devices as well. But for now, cutting edge stuff, I just say stick to the clouds. So anyway, thanks for watching and have a good one.